Today, in front of us, we do have 6 people who have volunteered to join this panel for us so they can talk to you guys. The whole reason for this panel that we're kind of putting together was to give you guys a chance to, number one, hear from each of the departments, but also to get some ideas of what they're looking for, what they expect, kind of what you're going to have to go through to get into the processes. And then on top of that, this is going to give you guys an idea or an ability to ask some questions towards our panel members on maybe if they can elaborate a little bit more on something, or if you do have a question, kind of a burning question about the hiring process or anything like that, that will allow you guys to get some answers for that as you guys move through the hiring processes and the interview process.
Awesome. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
My name is Les Stevens. I'm the Fire Chief, City of San Marcos Fire Department. I started my career as a volunteer in River Oaks outside of Fort Worth. I worked for the Garland Fire Department for almost 19 years, rising up through the ranks to Operations Battalion Chief. I've been the Fire Chief in San Marcos now for 14 years. I was an instructor here for about 10 years for the municipal school. Authored numerous articles for fire engineering, taught at FDIC for about 12 years, and then recently completed a term as the president of the Texas Fire Chiefs Association. So thank y'all for allowing us the opportunity to be here this morning. Look forward to it.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for trying to join the fire service, right, and the effort that you're putting into it. Something that my partner here, Les Stevens, forgot is that he's the Fire Chief of the Year, selected by the Texas Fire Chief Association. Great guy. A lot of changes on his department, and for me, he's a mentor. So we're sitting, you see us joking to each other, but we have a long-time relationship, and he's one of the persons that I look forward. We're going to talk about that, having good mentors in the fire service, so you can drive your career in the right direction. My name is Freddie Roland. I'm the Assistant Chief for Cal Fire Department, just a city on the south side of Austin. 4 stations, about to be 4 stations. We have 4 trucks that are going right now. I started my career a little bit different. I'm a chemist by degree. I work for Pfizer Pharmaceuticals, and I work for some other pharmaceuticals doing chemistry. And they put me into the hazmat team, thing that I didn't want at the moment. Why I want to be a hazmat guy? Everybody's running to the parking lot. Why I need to go in to try to solve a problem? So that was kind of challenging for me at the beginning, and kind of like, messing with my head. Why I want to do that? And suddenly here I am, 22 years old, going to the first hazmat call, sulfuric acid spill. And they sell me the idea that I'm going to be the research person because of my degree. I say, I can do that. I can sit on a computer and do some research. Well, the guys that were going to go in, they didn't pass the vital signs. So now I was on a big plastic suit going in, asking myself what I'm doing this dumb thing, not knowing that this is going to turn over to be my career. I moved to the San Marcos area, to Kyle, in 2007. I started volunteering in Cal Fire Department, where I grew up till today, all the way to the ranks from firefighter, driver, lieutenant, captain, training officer, and now to the assistant chief position. I feel that Cal's my family. We have a big family there. I have a bunch of folks that I met like you very young in their lives. And then suddenly they show up and say, man, I have a girlfriend. And 2 months, he's my fiance. 3 months, we're gonna get married. 2, 3 years, we're gonna get divorced. We celebrate everything, we're a family. We support each other, right? And that's what I love about this job. And I'm not looking to go back at all. As a matter of fact, I went back to school and I did a master in emergency management, just to solidify my knowledge in the emergency services and help my city to keep growing to the future. So you're a very important part on the future of the fire service of Texas. So thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jared Weiss. I'm a paramedic and a captain, which is a shift supervisor for Fayette County EMS. And I know when you hear that, you're like, where's Fayette County? It's about 1 hour and 15 minutes from here, and we service around 950 square miles countywide. We are county paid employees, county run service. We run about 4,000 calls a year between 4 stations, about to be 5 in January. Once we get the paramedics cleared up to where we can run that station full time. We have historically 2 or 3 people that live here in College Station area that do commute. We work at 4896, so it does work with the commute. You drive once, twice a week. It's not every other day, so it works for us. I actually graduated Teague's paramedic school in 2013. I've been with Fayette County for a little over 12 years now. I made captain in 2016 and have been doing that ever since. We're a smaller service, rural service, so you have 60 to 80 miles to transport a patient, anything critical to Austin, Katy, College Station sometimes. So what kind of differentiates us as being in rural EMS is you get to treat your patient and kind of see what happens with them. It's not treat them and dump them off, you treat them and then you're stuck with them for 40 more minutes. Helicopter's not flying, it's you and your partner. We run paramedic EMT ambulances, all ALS units, and we're a small service, so we're very family oriented. You'll kind of see from my answers to the questions up here that we probably look at things a little bit differently than some of the bigger services do, because when we hire you on, we want to make sure that I can spend 48 hours with you a third of the year, and we can actually get along, right? There's not somewhere you can go and hide. We know, everyone knows everybody. I know your name, your spouse's name, your dog's name, I know everything about you. We spend a lot of time together in the trucks, so you get to know each other very well. So our hiring process is fairly informal, and we focus on some different aspects that the bigger services do.
Oh, Lord. Good morning. My name is Mason Rolls. I'm a shift captain with Robertson County EMS. Call volume wise, we're very similar to Fayette. I think we'll probably push about 4,000 calls this year. EMS, we do strictly EMS. Obviously, a good chunk of y'all are interested in fire, and that's great, but don't hate on EMS, we're cool too. And in case nobody told you, 90% of your calls as a firefighter, it's gonna be what? EMS, it's gonna be medical. Definitely encourage y'all. We got the paramedic students over here too. Broaden your horizons, jump into medical. I don't know anything about the services that you're probably looking to getting into. Large part of your moving up in the department probably be based on whether or not you do have your paramedic cert. So hopefully you want to get your paramedic cert to do paramedic level stuff. But definitely encourage y'all to do that. We find a lot of people get into fire and EMS and they really dig the EMS side and want to essentially do the cool stuff that we get to do. And it's not that firefighters are not cool, but and the cool thing about the EMS industry, especially in Texas, where we can pretty much do whatever our medical director is comfortable with us doing, is we get new higher level skills that we get to do every year as the technology gets better and the studies kind of point towards a good outcome. A little bit about myself. First of all, thanks for Teach for having us. I think this is really cool. This is the first one of these I've been a part of. I also teach part-time here at the EMS school. Been with Robertson County for 11 years, 12 years. I think my director is in here somewhere. Steve Von Gotten, he took over leadership for us about 2 years ago, and we're headed in a great direction under him. We were good before, but I think we're even stronger now. Been there about 12 years, been a ship captain, same position as the gentleman over here for about 5-ish now. We run 4 24-hour trucks with a 5th peak hour truck. For the size of our county, that's pretty good. Our county is relatively small. I think population about 20,000 last time I checked. So for 4 trucks, for a population that small, it's pretty awesome. Our transport times, again, if medical is something that you're interested in, same again with Fayette, 60 miles is not out of the realm of possibility. We do not have a hospital. We have a couple little clinics in our county, but we are the medical professionals in our county. So you have to like medicine. You have to like to be able to spend 24 hours, 48 hours with your partner. I think that was a good point that he just said. We work very closely together. Obviously, we don't have 9 people on a fire station like y'all do. We typically maybe have 4. But again, we're working very closely, and you've got to trust the person next to you. We get into some pretty hairy situations. I'm here to answer any questions you guys have. You picked a great career. There's a lot of, if firefighter's not what you're looking for, there's 100 different directions you can go in EMS and fire. It's pretty interesting. With nurse pracs and PAs and all their stuff kind of gaining traction and getting more popular. Nursing, all these jobs are very high demand, so you picked a great career. Jobs for you guys. So thank you for what you do. We need folks like y'all to fill in for these old people like me who are, I'm not right at the end of my career. I got a little bit of time left in me, but one day it will go away, and we need you all to, jump in and take our spot. So thank you so much for having us. Look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you. Howdy. My name is Monty Northern. I'm a paramedic with Harris County Emergency Corps. I actually started off my path to EMT here at TEEX. I got my basic in 2012, got my paramedic in 2014. All of my time has been spent with Harris County Emergency Corps. So we are 911 EMS for North Harris County. So Highway 249, if you're familiar with the Harris County area, Highway 249 over to Atascocita. We cover about 76 square miles in that area. Last census is right around 500,000 population. Students in here, have you done, just show of hands if you've completed a clinical rotation with us at Harris County Emergency Corps. So we're a busy service. We're a high acuity call service. We run 9 ALS units. We run 3 BLS units. The 3 BLS units that we do run right now, those are our peak trucks. They're 12-hour shifts. The ALS units, those are 24. So we do about 2,200 calls per month in our district. We have 2 level 1 trauma facilities in our in Harris County. We use those quite often. Like I said, I did start my career off here at Harris County, or at TEEX. I have an undergrad from Texas A&M University, agriculture, economics, and entomology. So I was on a different path until I found EMT. How many of you know what entomology stands for, or what entomology is? Bugs. Poison kills both though, right? That's my one entomology joke. That's it. So short of the 911 side, we also have an event division side. We actually cover the EMS for the Astros, the Texans, and the Rockets. So if you're ever at one of those games, we're the EMS that's on the field for the teams. Saturday and Sunday, I got to be the dugout paramedic for the Astros. So that's one of the other things that we do in our service, is that we are the major league sports coverage in Harris County. So it is a pretty cool side of our event. However, as you can tell from things that happened last year, that's something that's going to be requiring EMS as well. When you have a player go down, cardiac arrest on the field, we have that division set up within our system that we have. We've been doing that for about 12 years now as well. Short of EMS and our service area, look forward to answering any of your questions when we get back into the Q&A session here shortly. Thank you for your time.
Hey, I'm Mike Ryan. I am the fire chief of Corsicana Fire Department. We're one of the oldest fire departments in the state of Texas. Been on the paid fire department since 1879. I'm the 20-something chief, I think. 22nd chief of that department. I spent 28 years of my career at Duncanville, a suburb of Dallas. I left there, retired from there at the rank of division chief. Corsicana is a unique place. We are on an island all by ourselves. We're surrounded by 22 volunteer fire departments. We're the only paid fire department in the county. We're on the I-45 corridor. We're close enough to Dallas to be Ranger fans, but we're just far enough away from Houston that we don't hold it against you if you're an Astros fan. So we root for both. We don't care, type of thing. So I wanted to spend my whole career as a captain. All I wanted to do was fight fire. That's all I wanted to do. And in 1998, I was hit by a car on I-20. The car was going 65 miles an hour, landed 75 feet away from the point of impact. I walked out of the hospital the next day. I was supposed to be gone for 6 months, and I couldn't stand it. I could not stand it. I held my doctor's hand and made him sign my release after 2 months so I could go back to work. I miss my guys, I miss my family, I couldn't do it. And, but I have some long-lasting injuries from that. And so at some point I had to look at climbing up the ranks because I knew I wasn't gonna be able to do this forever. So I used to run the Navarro College Fire and EMS program for quite a few years. I took it from 6 paramedic students for the year to the second largest EMS and fire academy in the state of Texas. I had a lot of good instructors. Taught out here at A&M's. I had municipal fire school since 2005, I think, on Project 67. If any of y'all have ever come through my prop. I love the fire service, and I live south of Corsicana. And I decided when that job opened up, I thought I think I need to go there because I had trained over half the fire department through Navarro College when I was there, so it was like coming home. So you picked a great career, best job in the world, best job in the world. I've never regretted doing this line of work.
I guess our first question is kind of, as an agency, could you give us an idea of your hiring process and the processes that these students would have to go through to essentially sign up and be hired onto your department?
We're state civil service. Everybody understand that? All right. Some of y'all are very familiar with that process, I'm sure. The department I came from was state civil service. If you're not familiar with civil service, it's basically a law, and it's a very fair hiring process. Now, having said that, there's as many cons to civil service as there is pros, or maybe more. But when you test with us, you go on a list, and we have to choose from the top. We can mix up the top 2 or 3, but we have to have good reasons to do it. So it's based off score only. Our promotional process is basically the same. We have this test. You can't add anything to it. It's just written test, basically. So our process, you would come apply with us. We would set a date for the written test, and however that's scored. Now, having said that, with civil service, we can fudge those through local civil service rules. Our local civil service rules state that if you are a paramedic, you go to the top of the list. If you're a firefighter paramedic, you're going to the top. Paramedic, you're right below them. Then firefighter EMT gets preferred status below them. Even with us, if you're a firefighter enrolled in EMT school, you can still test, but you can't actually get the job. If you're EMT enrolled in fire academy, you can still test with us. But firefighter paramedic goes straight to the top of the list. We don't run EMS, but we maintain our provider license. We still have an ambulance. All our guys are paramedics. The whole fire department's paramedics. It's a very important part of what we do. He was right. 90% of our calls are EMS related. The problem is we ran EMS for over 20 years. Right about 20 years. And at the time, our city just didn't pay anything. And they ran the county. Our EMS ran the county. And we did transfers. That wasn't me. That was previous regimes before me. And when you don't pay enough and you're running your guys like a private ambulance service, that doesn't go over very well. And we lost 18 people in 1 year. We're a 4-station city. We lost 18 guys. We didn't have the personnel to run it. And so we had to give it up. You know how hard it is for fire to give up EMS aspect of what we do? And we had no choice. So we kept that in there, the paramedic part, because you never know when we're going to take it back over. Our pay's up. Our schedule's great. We haven't lost hardly any members in the last year, maybe 2, but they were already on the list, I think, when we made a lot of changes in the department. So we are civil service, and that's how our process goes. What was I supposed to talk about? Because I'm old and I get lost. Yeah.
Sorry, they're just kind of looking to see what the process was for them to get started.
Yeah. Did I answer that?
Yes, sir.
Did I go too far with that?
So a little bit about Harris County Emergency Corps. We are EMS only. We are not, we work with fire services in our area, We are a not-for-profit corporation. We actually contract with Emergency Service District 1 in Harris County. So we are our own company. We do answer to the taxpayers through the contract with ESD1. We have a testing process. It is a FISDAP test that you'll fill out an application. You'll come in and do the FISDAP test. We do an interview panel, and then there's a second round interview. Once you're determined that you're going to be hired, it's a 1-week NEOP that we have for new hires. That includes your HR meeting, benefit package meeting, clinical meeting, going over the equipment that we have on the truck prior to you even touching the truck. We do have a EVOC driving course that we go through, so you're going to be parallel parking an ambulance, which if you ever parallel park an ambulance in real life, that's a concern, right? So that's going to be your first week. After you are brought on, you are going to be paired up with a field training officer. Generally, that time frame is around 96 hours to 100, around 120 that we aim for. If it goes beyond that 120, we need to look. We'll be doing an evaluation of, is there an area of concern that we need to be working on? Is there something we need to be focusing on? But we strive on the training that we do at Harris County Emergency Corps. We have about 250 employees right now. Like I said, we do run, the majority of our trucks are ALS, so we're paramedic heavy, but we do have basic trucks. We have 3 BLS trucks. That was brought in during COVID. We actually had, we had a large event division, and when we had that large event division, we had about 60 part-time basics that worked for us. Well, instead of saying, hey, basics, we really don't have a job for you right now, we actually looked at that and we actually put the BLS trucks up in operation in 2020. That has worked for us on our service. We run about 500 BLS calls per month. So our determinants are set up. We dispatch for ourselves. So we actually have a command. We actually have a dispatch center. So we hire dispatchers. That determinants in our call center, we've really worked those out to where it really helps us filter out, this is a BLS call, this is an ALS call. In the past year, there's maybe been a handful of calls that the basics get there and like, wait a minute, this is not at all what was called in. The call notes are wrong. So we are hiring full-time basics to actually man those basic trucks. So it's kind of like, oh, I'm a basic, I really need to get my paramedic. If you are a paramedic, if you're a basic right now and getting your basic cert, we are paying for your paramedic school to get your paramedic license if you come on full-time with us as a basic.
I'm sorry. I left a few things out. We do have a lengthy process, and I guess I should focus on that as well. So after you get scored, we give a physical agility test, and everybody has to pass their physical agility. From there, we do the top ones that weren't weeded out from there but are still at the top. We do background checks, criminal background. We run your credit. We have an interview process, a panel interview, and then a chief's interview. We do polygraphs, which we're kind of on the fence whether we even need to keep doing that or not. What am I leaving out, Travis?
I think that's it.
Yeah, and so once all that's said and done, if you're still at the top of the list, we do. We interviewed a guy the other day. He looked great on paper. Background came back spotless. And we wanted this guy. He was a local guy. We really prefer the local guys, but we don't always have that choice. And he looked great. And nobody ever fails our panel interview per se. But this guy came in and we asked him, so is this going to be your priority? Is this what you want to do? And he goes, well, I'm really thinking about going to nursing school, and I thought I'd try this until that came along. And that was all it took to knock him out of that process. So practice your interviews.
Again, we have a relatively quick interview and onboarding process. Well, our onboarding process is not quick, but our interview process is, being a rural small county, we can afford to knock it out pretty quick. Usually the way it works. So I guess I should tell you, we have 10 full-time employees per shift. We've got 3 shifts. The goal is to get 8 of those 10 to be paramedics. We'd like to have at least 2 double paramedic trucks. But we do, of course, keep basics. Unfortunately, a lot of our basics go on a paramedic pretty quickly, so it's kind of hard to retain our basics, but we always encourage all to go up. And obviously the paramedic can fill both roles on the truck. As an EMT, you're kind of just in that position. We don't have any just EMT trucks, although we have that capability should a natural disaster hit or we have a mass emergency, something like that. We typically, depending on, this is a kind of a career where people kind of come and go and, lateral and go up. We typically, as a service, don't really lose people to other services in the area. It's usually they go to, we lost 3 guys that got accepted to med school, for instance. A lot of people go into nursing. Some of our guys want to fly. So we typically do our hiring. There's no really rhyme or reason when we do it, just when we have our openings. EMTs, there are a lot more of y'all out there than the paramedics. So maybe 2 or 3 times a year we'll do an EMT hiring process. The paramedic applications as I get them, and I also do the recruiting and kind of in charge of the onboarding, not the FTEP process, but more of the onboarding. The paramedics will kind of, as I get those applications, will kind of pull you in, check your availability and bring you in and get you going. Just because y'all are a little few and far between. The paramedics are in very, very high demand right now. So if your dream fire department job is Woodlands or, Dallas, San Marcos, wherever, that paramedic, as a gentleman just told you, your paramedic is gonna get you up higher on that list. That's gonna make you a little bit more competitive. If that dream job is what you want, you might not always get that dream job as your first job. You're gonna have to aspire to that down the road. But any job is a good job, in my opinion. So, with that being said, we'll bring in our EMTs and the paramedics on the same day. We'll do, usually everything we do, we can knock out in a day. It's a long day, but we get it done. Just because I know y'all's time is valuable. It's very hard to get everybody together at once. We do the EMTs will do like a 75 question national registry style exam. We're required to get an 80 on the exam. It's not very hard. If you get an 80, you go on to the interview process. Paramedics a little bit longer. You get the same exam plus some ALS level, EKG, stuff like that, simple med stuff. Again, you get an 80, you get an interview. I think we'll probably get into interviews here more in depth here shortly. But the interview is very informal. We just want to get to know you. Again, just like the gentleman up here said, we work together. I can learn a lot about you in 5 minutes talking with you. So that interview, those interview techniques, essentially you're there to sell yourself. You're selling yourself to me. So whatever you got to do that. But again, we can, our interviews are short, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, that's all I need. After that, we'll send out invitation for hire, essentially, do a background check, stuff like that. And then we'll do a brief evoc, so driving is a big part of our job. If you get injured in this career, more than likely it's a driving accident, and lots of times it's our fault. So we take driving very, very seriously. Kind of lights and sirens are kind of going away because those kind of studies have shown those cause typically a lot more accidents than really the time that we save using them. Again, our county's heard rules, so we don't have a lot of stoplights, and that's when those kind of lights and sirens come in handy. After that, it's our FTEP process. So you make it through, actually we do have a 3-day orientation that you show up, we pay you for. You learn a little bit about the company, and you learn we teach you about our equipment and how to chart. Charting is a big part of our life. And then we do an FTEP process. So EMTs, it's pretty quick. We do hour-based FTEP. What FTEP is field training. So we'll assign you a field training officer, somebody that's been with the company and knows their job pretty well. And they'll train you, they'll be with you, they'll shadow you essentially until we clear you. And that's can last a month, it just depends. Paramedics, we actually have 3 phases for the paramedics. So they start kind of just as an observer until they get comfortable, and then we put them third on an ambulance, and then the 3rd phase is they're just riding them and their FTO together. At the end of that process, each step we've got to sign off and skills we've got to hit, stuff like that. After that, we pair you typically with your FTO for a month or so, and then we release you out in the world. Luckily our service, we've got a lot of help. We've got 2 supervisors that can float throughout the county. So we're very appealing to new paramedics mainly who like a little bit of a safety net, which I totally get. We've some very sick people out there, and it's kind of helpful to have somebody with some experience looking over your shoulder. But we're very proud of that, so.
So at Fayette County, we're very similar to what Robco has. Like I mentioned earlier, it's a very informal process. What you'll do is you'll email in your resume to our office manager, and she'll kind of set it up. And we also don't have a hiring process dates set. It's just whenever, as the need arises. Hopefully we have a few paramedics or EMTs in the files that we can call up and bring them in for an interview, whatever day we choose. And we do the same thing. We try to get everyone that's in the list same day, start around 8 a.m. We start with a National Registry entry-level exam. So for EMTs, it's 50 questions. Paramedics, it's 100 questions. You gotta make an 80. It's pretty standard in the industry to make an 80 is passing. If you make an 80, you get to move on to the interview. Interview panel is usually myself. I'm kind of in charge of new hires, the on-duty supervisor that day if it's not me, chief if he's available, and then 2 or 3 field staff will be on the interview panel. We have a set list of questions that we ask. Same thing, is pretty quick. What we really care about is your answers and if you're gonna be a fit personality-wise for our department. We can teach you the medicine. We can do that. But we can't teach you to be a good person or a normal human being, right? And so, define normal. No one getting over this field is very normal. But we can teach you the medicine if you're lacking a little bit. We also love new EMTs, new paramedics, start your career with us. We have a roaming supervisor. Most of the time, our chief and assistant chief will have the ability to respond to calls as well, major incidents. But you will have an EMT partner once you clear. It'll be paramedic EMT on all of our trucks. We're hoping to eventually move to at least one dual paramedic truck if we can, if the county will budget it for us. You'll go through just the test interview, and then that's it for the day. We're usually done by noon, 1 o'clock, and you'll hear back from chief within a day or two if you want you to come back or try again, kind of thing. If you do get hired on, same thing. We have the background check, physical, and drug screen, and we do not have a NEOP process at this time. We're working on developing that. We used to have it, but it was kind of not necessary when we were hiring one person here, one person there, and that totally went away during COVID. So you'll get set up on all of our stuff via phone call, and then you'll be assigned an FTO, and from day one, the FTO will kind of guide you through everything. Teach you how to chart, teach you how to drive, or make sure you know how to drive safely, teach you all the rules, regulations, teach you our SOCs, policies, procedures, everything. For an EMT, it's usually 1 month, 4896 that you'll spend with your FTO. If you need extra time, we kind of have the ability to allow you to have extra time, unless the FTO just says no. But that's very rare occurrence, very rare occurrence. Paramedics, it's usually 2 to 3 months or more than 3 if you're brand new. If you have some experience, we assume you know how to be a paramedic, so we're just gonna teach you how we do the things. But you'll ride third out usually as a cadet, and your FTO will kind of guide you through everything. The biggest hurdle for us, we used to have a hospital, they just closed their doors 2 weeks ago in our county, and the biggest hurdle was what goes local and what has to go to Austin. Because we're 911 primary, but we do take transfers from time to time. With our local hospital shutting down, it's really significantly declined the transfers, also declined our income and stuff like that, because this is a business too. But we deciding what can go to our local facilities instead of to the major facilities is kind of a big thing that everyone struggles with, because our goal is to get the patient to the most appropriate facility as fast as possible. So taking them to the local facility, having them sit there for 4 hours, and then they're gonna go to Austin, you're gonna take them anyway, just cut out the middleman, we'll just run them into Austin. And Austin's our main place that we go, so I refer to them. But once you get through that and your FTO says, hey, they're good to go, same thing, release you to the wild, rely on your captain, rely on the other medics and personnel on your shift, and they'll help you out. We do expect our crews to pay attention to what's going on. If there's a major wreck or cardiac arrest or anything that might need an extra set of hands, we expect the next closest ambulance to get up and start going. They'll stay available for calls if something else pops off, but they are supposed to come help you. So although you are by yourself for a little bit with your EMT partner, you're never fully alone. There is someone coming to help you, and you can bumble your way through it until someone gets there and tells you what to do if you're new. So we really prefer new people because they haven't learned a bunch of bad habits and all burnt out and grumpy and salty yet. So we can kind of teach you how we do things and hopefully avoid getting those bad habits in you.
Oh, well, I guess a lot of information here, right, with all the different hiring process. And I guess I need to start telling you, whenever you're gonna apply, whenever you're gonna put down your resume, make some research of the organization that you're going to, understand their hiring process so you can work yourself, prepping yourself in all the different details that every organization is gonna have, right? Every organization is gonna be different. In our case, in Cal Fire Department, we're an ESD, Emergency Service District. We follow pretty much the traditional way. We are not civil service, so we can manipulate our hiring process a little bit more. When I say manipulate, we can try to create a testing process that would fit our needs, right? So we go with the testing date, written test. If you pass your test with more than a 70, you're good to go to your physical agility test. In that same process, you're getting your background check. Okay, so we're trying to run a couple things at the same time. Written test, nothing crazy. We don't come with questions out of the moon. We just use the same study materials that you use in your academies, right? To keep it simple, to keep it fair, to keep it clear for everybody. I don't come with a question out of my bag and throw it out there to you. So very simple. You pass your physical agility test. We score your physical agility test, and we make an average between your written and your physical agility. At that point, we start creating a list. Top 10, we move to an interview process, and we have a panel interview. So we include one of the chiefs. It can be a battalion chief, it can be assistant chief, it can be chief. We include a captain, we include a lieutenant, and a driver. Because this is the people that is going to be working with you. And they're going to run over 9 questions with you, and also they're going to answer some questions for you. Trying to do the same thing that you're doing, trying to make sure that we target people that fit our department, right? That is going to come and be useful to it. After you pass your interview, list is created, and we're going to hire how many openings we have in need. Moving forward, because we hire people from different fire academies, we do a 1 month internal fire academy for those new hires. And the reason behind, right, you're sitting there and say, man, I've been through all this crap all this time, and I need to go to an academy again? Well, if you look at it from this perspective, you guys come from TICS and all the education that you have here, but also we have ACC, we have San Antonio College, we have TFA. I run a high school fire academy program. As a matter of fact, I have 5 of those students that work for us full time, and another handful that works in different fire departments. So everybody that came that first day have a different set of skills, or is being taught or educated in kind of slightly different way, right? So before we put you in a truck, we want to make sure that this is how we do things. This is what is expected for you to perform. Give you an example. Johnny Smith, I'm going to use his name, good friend of mine. First day on the job, he got an 18-wheeler that got out of the highway and faced a tree. Heavy extrication for this guy the first day on the job, okay? So that's why we create this month academy, to go in depth and make sure that whenever we put you in that truck, you're able to jump out of it and do your job. And in the academy, you're going to be running through your EMT skills. We're going to be testing all of those, make sure that everything is sharp and ready to go. We're going to go basic ladders, hose deployment, depending on our trucks, right? We have a ladder truck as well. Understand all the deployments and foldings that we do that. RIT team is very important for us, not only our department, but county-wide, because we work together. We're not Austin Fire Department. Austin is a great city. I'm not talking crap about Austin. It's a great city. They have 52 stations, 53 stations. We are not that. Chief Stevens here have 6 stations. I'm about to have 4, but we're great working together. So I look at Austin and I'm happy, like, okay, you're good, right? Because we train together and we help each other really, really, really well. But again, understanding that you are prepared to perform at your maximum capacity before I put you out on the truck is very important for us. Okay, if I need to be the REIT team for San Marcos Fire Department, we need to know what we're doing, right? Because if I need to go and get one of their guys, we need to understand their equipment and how we proceed doing all these things. And new hires are very important. As you said, sometimes we like to look for guys that are like Superman. They come with experience and a lot of tools and they know how to do things, paramedics, right? But sometimes they're doing bad habits. And me teaching junior and senior high school programs, I learned that everybody, you can mold it. And that's a great benefit. Sometimes you go to an interview and say, man, I don't have experience. What am I gonna say? You know what you're gonna say? That you can learn a lot. And you can be the firefighter that I wanna have on my truck, if that makes sense. Okay?
As Chief Ryan said, civil service, there's probably just as many cons as there are pros. San Marcos is a state civil service fire department. To address some of those cons, we have implemented a program called Meet and Confer. And it's through that Meet and Confer that we can go in and address some of the nuances that make civil service a little bit clunky. It's an extremely old document, begs to be updated. Both the labor and management sides would never agree to opening it up because nobody wants to lose what they feel are the pros and what the other side probably sees as the cons. So we have Meet and Confer. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about our process. Then I'm gonna talk about some of the things that we have created, the opportunities we've created through that Meet and Confer process. We give a written civil service examination. It's ranked off of raw score. We assess some additional points for prior military service with a honorable discharge. We assess some additional points for college education. And we rank it. The first group will be firefighter paramedics, then firefighter advanced, firefighter EMT, and so forth. Once that's done by score, we do a physical agility test. The physical agility test is pass or fail. Once that is completed, you're given an extensive background packet. I will tell all of you now, if it is your goal to leave here and go get one of these jobs, buy you a 3-ring binder. That first background packet, if it's one like ours, you'll probably not find one any more in depth than ours. That's gonna be the ones you're gonna see in probably the 20 or 30 largest cities in the state. It's gonna ask for all sorts of information. Keep a copy of it. Because if you go apply in Corsicana or Kyle, you're gonna need the exact same information. So get you a binder, dig up all those information, all the details, all the names, addresses, phone numbers, put it in that folder. You're gonna need it again. Background check. Our background investigator will bring you in. He will go through this packet with you line by line, question by question. Any changes you wanna make at that point, we'll allow. Anything after that, an omission is lying. Any falsification is lying, and it's a grounds for immediate removal from the process. If you are successful in completing the background, you come in for a panel interview. It's representative of our rank throughout the organization, our administrative support staff, and we have community members on it as well that sit there. They score that. It's an 80 or better to pass. If any two people give you a 0 on any one question, you're automatically disqualified from the process. We have one of the harder processes. I think we have one of the better fire departments. We then administer post-interview. You'll come see me. Mine isn't a pass-fail interview. It's just to kind of get to know you, give you a first look at some of the expectations that we have. They're high. If you don't want to live up to them, that's perfectly fine. There are tons of fire departments throughout the state of Texas with much lower standards. Wish you all the luck in the world. I'm not changing my standards. If you want to work for the best, you'll meet standards. We're not going to change them. Come meet with me. If you and I agree, I'll offer you a job. Post offer of employment. Can't do these prior to offering a job. Once I've made you a job offer, I'll ask you to submit to a medical physical, a drug screen, and a psychological evaluation. I'm about to back up one step out. We do a polygraph, and we will absolutely never get rid of the polygraph. Chief, don't do it. It's the wrong answer. We do a polygraph. Let me tell you why. And let me tell you why Chief Ryan's gonna leave here and tell him, nope, we're keeping it. Give a polygraph to a kid. We wanted to hire this kid, 2 kids. I'll give you 2 stories. Kid goes to the polygraph. He's written down all his drug stuff. No. Sits down, polygraph examiner, when was the last time you smoked weed? He says, about 15 minutes ago. Polygraph examiner thinks, oh, dude's funny. He said, no, for real, when was the last time you smoked weed? He goes, in my car on the way here. We didn't hire that guy. It turned out that was the least of the things that we learned in his polygraph. Another gentleman came to us, a very good friend of possibly one of my best employees. No doubt we're gonna hire this guy. He's got a job, he's making $100,000 a year. He wants to leave this corporate job to come work for the fire department. We polygraph him and find out he is absolutely a kleptomaniac. He is stealing something every time he goes to the store. He stole a bag of ice, he stole a hairbrush, he stole shampoo, stuff he didn't even need. He's just steals stuff. I'm gonna hire you. I'm gonna put you on a fire engine. And the cool thing about our job is when an emergency occurs, people don't get a chance to clean up and expect company. All their drugs are laying out, their money's laying out, their watch is laying out, their sex toys are laying out, all this weird stuff. And you get invited into their home unannounced. And I expect all of that to be right where it was when you got there, when you leave. And I have to be able to sleep at night knowing I got 30 people going in and out of people's homes unannounced. I'm not gonna have any doubt in my mind about the people I hire. So we do a polygraph and it has served us extremely, extremely well. Medical, physical, drug screening, pass both of those, you'll be given a start date. We do an 8-week onboarding for the exact same reasons they said. We take people from a lot of different departments, we hire a lot of people from other organizations. They come to our department, they see our guys in training, different fools things, different engagements. They're like, hey, I like what y'all got going. We're bigger a little bit, we're busier a little bit higher standards. They want to come to us. So a lot of the people we hire come from other organizations. But they're also, maybe they're working with a Hall Matro extrication tool. To Chief Rowland's example, we use TMT. Both are fine. I don't want you to roll off that apparatus your very first day knowing a Hall Matro tool inside and out and having absolutely no clue about a TMT tool. Or maybe you lose a triple layer load, we use a Minuteman, or you're used to the layout of a pump panel on a Pierce engine, we use a Spartan, those kind of things. So we do an 8-week orientation. I spend almost half of one day just on basic personal financial management. At the root of almost all of the suicide incidents that I've seen, and that's the #1 killer in our service today, at the root of that are financial incidents. Secondary to the financial incidents are domestic problems, secondary to the financial problems. They come to work, then they're in a bad mood, they can't get along with their employees, and it's a snowball. So we start from day, I get you the second day, and we spend about half that day on basic personal financial management. Once you're on that, you go through the 8 weeks, touch just about every aspect of the job. You'll be assigned to a shift. We do monthly tests, evaluations. Those are administered by the operations chief and the training chief to make sure that no two people in the organization are being held to a different standard. The captains will make sure you're prepared, they'll make sure you're ready, but the tests are administered by the chiefs in training and operations. That culminates at the end of the year with a written street test, knowledge examination, and then you will be given a project for the whole first year of a line of duty death presentation. You'll select one, you'll get it approved by the training chief, and over the course of your year, you'll study a line of duty death of your choosing, and you'll make a presentation to your shift, admin, even the CMO's office comes over from time to time to sit in on those as a way to kind of see what happened in that event and how it parallels our organization. Are there things that you identified that we need to address or we need to improve? So that's our process. In Meet and Confer, we've made some changes just recently. One is how we rank the tests, so the firefighter paramedics go to the top and so forth, but we're also starting in January, we're going to hire non-certified for the first time. And we're going to send them to ACC. We're sending you to rookie school or EMT school, paramedic school, whatever you need. We're looking forward to that. We currently have 13 openings. I had 15 as of a couple of weeks ago. I made 2 job offers. So I'm sitting with 13 openings. I expect to get 4 more mid-year. So in April, we'll have an additional 4 positions to fill. Those people will come on, go through ACCs, come back, complete that mini academy, and then go on shift. But we just opened our 6th fire station, a ton of opportunities. We have hiring incentives. One of the things that we added through Meet and Confer this time was a lateral entry program. If you work for a paid fire department currently, you can apply to us, and we have a chart, a matrix that says like size. If it's more than 4 stations, more than 60 employees, more than 5,000 calls a year, we'll consider that a light department. And for every year you have in your current department, you can move up a step on our pay scale up to the 8th step as a firefighter, so you wouldn't be starting over necessarily. We also have a lateral entry bonus program. If you come to us with your firefighter and your paramedic program, I think it's 2 different payments of $2,500 over the course of the first year to come through the door with those certifications. So what I wanted to illustrate is most of these processes they're very similar, but there are nuances to each one. But what you guys should probably do is focus on getting a job, not worrying about where it is or something like that. Worry about every place there's an opportunity, go take a test. I took tests all over the state of Texas. I got hired in the Garland Fire Department when I was 18 years old. It's funny, I'm hearing these people talk about getting their paramedic in 2000 and something. I got my paramedic certification in 1992. I still have it. In San Marcos, we do not run EMS, but we're almost all, we're just broke over 50% and climbing all paramedic certifications. So we provide ALS services off of all those engines. We ride with the paramedics on the critical calls and, treating patients in the back of the ambulance. So you get to do a lot of that stuff without doing a lot of the transports and transfers that some people don't want to do. But most of these processes are very similar. So when you set out to get a job, watch for those opportunities, take those tests. I didn't get a job in a place that I made a 98 on the written test. I was number 1 and they didn't hire anyone. I got a job in a place where I made a 94, but they hired 16 or 17 people. So a lot of that is beyond your control. So take the test, be on the list, show up where you're supposed to be. We'll talk a little bit about the interviews and stuff later. Do those things because other people are changing their jobs, they're moving, they're falling out of the process, they're getting disqualified. Sometimes it's just survival of the fittest. It's being the person on the list when they're actually offering a job. So don't give up because, hey, I'm 16th on this list and they've only got 4 positions. Right now, we're somewhere around 1 out of 7 people that take the written test are employable. 1 out of 7. The rest have domestic issues. They have DWIs, they have PIs, they have MIPs, they're thieves, they do drugs. They've got issues that they just can't work for us. And I'm probably speaking for most everyone up here. So when you sit down in a room full of people, even Irving, just gave a test a few weeks ago, over 1,800 people applied, 621 showed up. Hey, and that 621 people, look around and keep in mind somewhere between 1 in 5 and 1 in 7 are even employable based on the current standards. So don't get overwhelmed, don't get freaked out, don't get deflated. A bunch of those people aren't gonna get a job. They're not eligible to get a job. So you just keep showing up and that list is gonna get shorter and shorter and you're gonna move higher and higher. Okay?
All right, thank you guys. There's some really good points that were put in there. And if there's anybody who has any questions for our panel here, if you guys want to stand, we can get you guys a microphone and we can get that over to you. But some really good points that are in there, especially talking about just looking at knowing what kind of department and their procedures moving in and actually just kind of investigating how their process goes when you guys are moving into a hiring process. And just kind of understanding the areas that they surround and the areas that they actually service in their daily activities and their workloads. So did anybody have anything in the group before we move on at all? We have a couple more questions that we're gonna start kind of firing off here. And if anybody has any questions, get the mic over here real quick.
You already have it.
So, I'm Mike's training chief down at Corsicana, and I'm pretty heavily involved in our hiring process. And my question to the panel is, and it touches on something that you just talked about. We're in direct competition with Metroplex departments. So what we've seen over the last 20 years, we've had over 200 people move through our department. They come in new right out of the academies. You get 3 to 5 years of experience with us, and then you move on to the department that you ultimately want to be at. So my question for y'all is, the opinions vary in our department. We've got some guys that's a 100% deal breaker. If you don't want to make a career with us, we don't want you. We've got some guys that understand we're missing out on an opportunity for a great employee, even though we know they're not gonna finish their career with us. So how would you recommend these guys answer that question? Because it is a direct question that we ask in our panel interview, and what is your opinion on, I mean, y'all are kind of on the other end of it in a larger department, but for departments that you know you're kind of becoming a training field, what is your opinion on that?
Well, I can answer that from when I was at Duncanville, because we were a Metroplex Fire Department, and we lost a lot of guys. We basically just said we were the training ground for everybody else, and we used to take it personal. But after a while, you just have to take pride in it, that when we lost somebody to Frisco or McKinney, when they called back and said, you sent us a hell of a hand, and y'all did good by him, we had to take it as a matter of pride. So we had to change our mentality that, you know, screw you for leaving us. It's like, you know, so I want our motto at Corsicana to be, you know, we want to train them up good enough so they can go, but we want to treat them good enough they want to stay. And we have to come to that reality. If we treat them good enough, they'll stay. But we got to train them up good enough so they can go.
And our situation down in Houston, we're in competition with Houston Fire Department, ESD 11 Mobile Healthcare, Montgomery County Hospital District, Cy-Fair. We've got 10 other agencies that you can work for. Our goal with Harris County Emergency Corps, we talk about culture. And it's like we want you to stay with us because of the culture. There's the pay, there's the benefits. All the agencies have that. That's going to be their first point. This is our pay, this is our benefits. We have, like I said, about 250 employees. We have employees that have been with us for 25 years. We have employees that have been with us for 20 years. We've got a handful of employees that have been with us for that 1 year mark, and that's where we can really look to see that our turnover rate's pretty low right now compared to the industry, which we're very proud of right now. Because right now, EMS in the state of Texas, we're all competing for you, the student. There is not that seasoned medic out there that is, hey, I'm thinking about changing jobs. If they have that job, they're staying at that job. They're not jumping from service to service. If they are jumping from service to service, they've been with every other agency in the city of Houston, and that's going to show on that resume. So that's where we're out here at events like this, where we're competing as agencies for you, the student that's brand new into the industry. I can talk for our service. Our fleet accidents right now, we have a lot of individuals that have never driven an ambulance. They've never driven anything larger than the sedan that they have as a personal vehicle. And so that's where we're seeing as an industry is like we realize that we're out here having to do this because you're going to be the ones filling those positions that we currently have. EMS, you have individuals that have a paramedic license, they have an advanced license. They are working as a technician in a hospital. They're working for IV clinics where they're just doing IVs. They're getting paid $50, $60 an hour. That's something that EMS from a city side, from a county side, really is struggling to compete with. And so if you actually look at the state service record, the state numbers, it's like 23% of the individuals that actually have a paramedic license or a state cert license are actually submitting a patient care report. So that number prior to COVID was around 28%. So people still have a license, but they're doing other jobs other than working on ambulances. And so that's where this competition from our side of what we can do different for you is really something that we've had to take a step back of, like, okay, what are we doing as an industry, as a service? And that's where we, in our industry, or our service, Harris County Emergency Corps, we really look at that and establishing that culture for you and make you feel, we have a wellness committee, we have a safety committee, we have all this other activity that try to get you involved with us, not just so it's you're on a truck for 24 hours, you're off, you're on for 24, and then we don't see you again. It's like, no, we want to be in touch with you those days off. We want to make sure that you want to be involved with us throughout.
What I would say to that is, we have kind of the same battles where I work. It's being a rural county. Obviously, the golden applicant is the one that's local, is what the perfect scenario is. I would say, take it as a challenge, as a service. Make it hard on that person. Make them really think twice about leaving. Have a good service. Pay them a reasonable wage. Unfortunately, budgets are where those big pays come from, and the smaller counties have a smaller budget. The good thing is we have ESDs and income tax, or not income tax, sales tax initiatives and stuff like that come through that kind of allow us to raise our budget. Look, EMS is a money losing company. Nobody makes money doing EMS. These EMS services that are making a profit are doing transfers. So unfortunately, it's a necessary thing. Everybody deserves a competent medic and a functioning ambulance to show up if they need help. But yeah, take it as a challenge for the smaller services. I saw the other day that there's a fire department in Dallas-Fort Worth that is starting their firefighters at $100,000 a year. That kind of tells you where we're headed. And it makes it hard for us to, if money is your goal, first of all, you're in the wrong career, but if money is your goal and you have bought a Ferrari and you need to have a certain amount of income coming in to afford that, it's hard to compete with that. The ways we found to compete with it is give y'all amazing equipment, surround yourself with good people, have a flexible schedule. You can get off the days you need to, and that comes in from our PRN staff. What I probably should have told y'all earlier is we have, this is different from a lot of fire departments, but we have full-time employees and we have part-time employees. A lot of fire departments don't have part-time employees. Their full-timers will fill in the gaps when they have open gaps. However, overtimes are expensive, so we have PRN employees that can come in and fill in these open holes. So if a full-time EMS job is not what you want, a PRN position might be something you could be interested in. Just a quick story for us. I told you I teach the EMS, work with the EMS Academy here. We worked with Michelle's EMT class a few months ago, and at the very beginning of the class, I like to have them kind of get an idea of what their ultimate goal is. And just having this class that she had, about half the people there had already had their bachelor's degree from A&M and wanted to go to med school. So one of the little girls in the class, she came out and did a ride out with us. We love having students too. After her first ride out, she came up to me and she's like, I don't want to go to med school anymore. Maybe one day, but she's like, I want to be a paramedic. And that says a lot about our service. In one day, I was able to turn her around, and she changed her whole life perspective in that day. And I do want her to go to med school one day. I think that's pretty good. We do need doctors. But yeah, never give up. I mean, if obviously we want to retain people. And as far as interviews come in, we're looking for you to be honest with us. If you tell me that you want to work for Dallas Fire in a year, I'm going to think twice about hiring you. I'm not going to hire you, but you're going to be a little bit lower on my list. I'm going to invest a lot of time and money in you. And ultimately, let's be honest, it's going to take about a year for me to get you to where you need to be. And if you're jumping ship at that year, that really doesn't help me as a company. So be honest. If all you're looking for is a time filler or something like that, that's good for us to know. But just be honest, there's no shame in starting somewhere again. If your ultimate goal is to work for one of those big companies, they're paying $100,000 a year, that's great, but that's not gonna be your first job. Use stepping stones to get where you wanna go.
My answer is going to be very similar to what these gentlemen have already said. At Fayette, we are trying to create a culture. We maybe can't pay you as much as the Houston area or big city fire departments or EMS services can pay you. That being said, we did just get a 10% raise starting in January, so we are getting very competitive with everybody else. But we want to create a culture that when you show up to our service to interview or to do ride-outs, it maybe doesn't pay as much as some of the other places, but you know you're gonna have a good time with us. And that's why our interview process has turned to, we wanna know who you are and if you fit that culture that we're trying to develop. We had a leadership change in 2020, right at the height of COVID. It was good times. And since then, he has come in and he kind of did a study with some of the people that left, did exit interviews, and asked them, why are you leaving? And one person out of 10 to 12 said, for more pay. It wasn't the pay, they loved the service, but they were trying to get closer to home, they were going into the fire service, or just getting out of EMS in general. So we've succeeded in creating a culture that people want to be around, but we also know that we will be kind of a stepping stone for some employees, and we're okay with that. Being out kind of in the middle of nowhere where you're having to drive an hour and a half to 2 hours to get there, some employees do. That gets old after a few years, and I understand that. So trying to create that culture, that place that people want to be at. When we get students in, we've had multiple students that have come in, done ride-outs with us that had their hearts set on somewhere else. They came and hung out with us for 24 hours, 2 or 3 times, and immediately put in their application. We have that culture, but we want to keep it going, and we are a lot more lucky than a lot of the services around us because we don't have a bunch of open spots, whereas 2 years ago we had 6 paramedics and 6 open holes that we were trying to fill, and everyone was working overtime and all this stuff. Paychecks were great, but morale was down. So I think the culture that you develop around there is going to be helpful in retaining employees. Keep them happy. They'll stay for less pay as long as they're happy to come into work.
I think I need to stand up, sorry, because I need some oxygen to get to my brain, and this suit is too tight. No, I completely agree with what you're saying, and I feel your pain. Us in Cal being a medium-sized department, we don't have 50 stations, so we don't have 1,300 employees working for us. Have about 60 now. Something that happens on Cal is that you get there and you get trained really quick. Even as young as you see your faces, right? I have faces just like you driving trucks right now. That's scary. But that's the reality. I need to develop people to compensate the problems that I have with the big city vacuum my employees. I send my guys immediately to DOA. We have a great training program across the county, and we're just exceeding training, trying to get ready to compensate with that problem, right? Years ago, 2012, 2013, I lost probably my best friend, my best partner on the truck, Robert Ortiz, to Austin Fire Department. That hurt my heart, right? I have a great bonding with this guy. We were rocking. I was super fit because he was super fit, and he pushed me. He pushed me to the limit. I love working with him. And he went to Austin for a little bit more cash, right? And he's doing great, married, have a kid. And that's okay if that's what he wants for his life, right? And I was upset at that moment with AFD. Well, long short story, I have lost probably 9, 10, 12 firefighters just going to AFD because the leader cash and the leader probably a little bit more benefit that we can provide as a small ESD. And I go to every graduation whenever they get hired on AFD, and I shake their hands and say, you know what, I'm proud of you, because you're pushing. I'm the reference if they need to go up. I start my week this week, exactly what you're saying. I have one of my new hires that is in the academy, came to my office and said, man, I have an offer from AFD, and I need to step up. And I sit with him and say, man, I'm happy for you. And I just want you to go and do your best. You just been here only for 2 weeks. But you do your decision following your heart. And if one day you decide to come back, come and talk to me, because I need to leave the doors open. I need to be nice. Money's not everything in the organization. You're completely right. That was the problem organization. We were in an organization that we were just managing people, not leading people. Okay? And you need to understand, you guys are going to be looking for jobs. Look organizations that have specific characteristics. Teamwork, training, development, opportunities, place to grow, and also one last one, that they know how to treat people. I agree with you. The worst thing that can happen is that you go to a place that they treat you like shit. And you're gonna be in the probationary time, sorry for the shit. You're gonna be in your probationary year, right? And you're gonna be doing some chores that you may don't like to do, right? But that doesn't mean that they need you to treat you like that. Okay? Go to a place that their values are high, that they know how to treat people, that they take care of each other, and that's a place that you wanna go every single day.
Interview, lesson number 1. What was his question? Not picking on these guys, but only one of them answered the question. When you go to an interview, hear the question, answer the question. His question was, what do I tell them? The answer to that, no matter what the background is be honest. Be honest, be honest, be honest. Chief Ryan spoke about the trust that the community has in us. They have that trust in us because we operate above reproach. When someone calls me and tells me, hey, your guys are at my house and my new DeWalt drill is missing, I automatically know they've lost it or somebody else stole it, but I know 102 people that didn't take their drill. They're not on my payroll if they're a thief. I had one when I got hired. He don't work there no more. He stole the GPS from me. He don't work there no more. Interview number 1. Listen to the question, answer the question. The question was, what do I tell them? Be honest with them, whatever that is. Hey, I aspire to work somewhere else in 2 to 5 years. We have, in Meet and Confer, a requirement to come to work for me. If you've taken Brian's test or you've taken College Station's test or Kyle's test, to start work with me, you have to remove yourself from all of those lists and provide to me a confirmation email from those agencies that you've done so. Because I believe this, if you'll start to work for me and you can meet our expectations, you won't want to leave. We've lost less than six or seven people. I've tried to count them in my head in the 14 years I've been there, not counting terminations and people that were forced to resign to other agencies. 2 of them I would hire back. The other 4 I was glad to see them go. I didn't want them, they didn't fit, then I think they left because of that. If you want to do mediocre work and you don't want to train and you want to suck at your job, man, I'm telling you, my department's not where you're going to work. You're going to stand out and it's going to be a long day. Same thing, they talked about the 48-96 shift. Let's touch on that. A bunch of y'all are being told by your buddies, that's the end of the world. Hey, maybe it is. But if you're getting into this line of work because you want to go to structure fires, you want to go to MVAs, you want to do this work, there's a breakover point of where you just physically and mentally cannot do that for 48 hours. It's not reasonable. A friend of mine drives the busiest engine in Fort Worth, 28 runs a day. You're not gonna do that for 48 hours. So if you're looking at a department that's on 48-96, you gotta know, I went to a department recently, a guy committed suicide. 48-96, these people are making a call every 3rd day. If you hit it just right, you could work a full 48-hour tour and not make a run. I didn't go to rookie school to do that. That's why I worked in Garland for so long. A ton of stuff caught on fire. We got to go to a lot of fires. You're not gonna go somewhere on a 48-96 schedule and go to a bunch of fires because the chief, the risk management, HR, they're not gonna allow you to be able to be up for 48 straight hours. You're gonna have to go somewhere with a relatively low call volume for that to be reasonable. Be honest with yourself. If you don't care about the call volume, you want the time off, if that's more important, then go to one of those departments. It'll be a little bit slower pace, but you'll be fine. If you wanna go somewhere, you go to a bunch of jobs, go ride Engine 6 in Dallas. 3 structure fires every time you come to work for the last 20-something years, just north of where Chief came from. August Galley, probably the most experienced firefighter in the country. This dude made 3 fires almost every time he went to work for 20 years as lieutenant on Engine 6 in Dallas. But you're not gonna do that for 48 hours straight. It just ain't gonna happen. But when you go answer those questions, answer the questions, but most important, I said, be honest. Even more important than being honest with me. Being honest with who? Yourself. Be honest with you first. If you bullshit me, and I'm not gonna apologize, Freddie did, I'm not. If you bullshit me, I'll figure it out. And you'll either wash out, you'll be in my office and go, hey, there's 2 forms, pick which one you wanna sign, I really don't care, but you're not gonna work here in about 10 minutes. and you and I are gonna part ways, and we're gonna be just fine. But if you're not honest with yourself, you're not gonna hurt me. You're gonna hurt you, and you're gonna hurt the people around you. So more importantly than being honest with me, to Chief's question, be honest with yourself. Know what you want. And maybe you don't know. He talked about the lady that wanted to be a doctor and came and wrote out, wanted to be a paramedic. Hey, you could come somewhere and find out, hey, this is what I want. This is different, or hey, this sucks. Most schools, and I don't know what the attrition rate is here, most rookie schools see an attrition rate from the beginning to the end of at least 2 to 3 people every class. Y'all seeing that? I'm seeing a lot of nods in the back. Hey, there's people that show up. This isn't for everyone, right? So there's no shame in that. If this isn't for you, and you get in this, I've got guys that come to work for us that, hey man, they really like the LE piece. They don't want to be a cop full time, but they find their way into prevention so they can be LE and do both. Be honest with yourself. That's probably the most important part.
All right, very good question that was asked of them. And I'm gonna open up the next one to our panel more as kind of a popcorn, so if you guys kind of have something to say, just kind of motion for the mic between your group. Don't have to worry about passing it back and forth, and so somebody may answer that question before it gets to you, so if you don't have something, that's great if it's kind of a ditto on what was said or whatnot. But I know one of the things that you guys talked about was interviews, and I know that's kind of a hot button topic right now is when you guys are doing interviews, what are you guys looking for in your candidate as far as how they dress and how they act when they are there? So feel free, whoever on the panel would like to kind of just motion for the mic and enter, or you can start off yourself, Chief, or however you guys want to do that.
I would say, do some research of where you're going. Ask other people in that department. I dress like this for a reason today, okay? Number one, I don't like being in Class A all day because my shoes hurt my feet. But in Corsicana, this is what you would wear, okay? If you come in there in a suit, we're gonna look at you like that. You borrowed that, didn't you? Because people from down there don't have suits. This is what I wore to a funeral. One of my firemen's mother died, and we had a funeral Saturday. This is what I wore. So I wore this specifically today, me and Travis did, because this is what we expect. Oh, Travis snuck out. He's good at that. So this is what we expect from you down in Corsicana. But if you go to Chief Stevens, but you can't bullshit there, okay? If you show up and we know you're uncomfortable in that, that suit may actually go against you, okay? Because you're gonna look awkward in it. Dress professional, and anymore for Corsicana, nice jeans and a shirt, good shirt is what we're looking for. Because if you show up in something else, then we know that's not yours. You're trying to bullshit right off the bat. But there are gonna be some departments that expect you to come in a suit. You need to do your research, okay? When I was hired on at Duncanville, I turned in my application and I asked Diane, the executive assistant there, do y'all have a study guide? And she goes, now that you ask, we do, it's $5. And I paid her my $5. 487 people showed up for the test. I was one of 5 that had the study guide, okay? And I scored number 3. The 2 guys ahead of me had been arrested on a DUI, not convicted, arrested, and that knocked them out of the process. I was one of 5 that asked if they had a study guide. I set up their physical agility test in my backyard. I asked, what's on your physical agility? And then I asked other people there at that department, what should I do to prepare for this? And they said, what do you drive? And I said, I drive a 1977 Suburban with the back window busted out. They said, we didn't need to know about the window, but put it in neutral and push it up and down your street and get your leg strength there. And then go up to your high school, run to your high school and run the stands. And I did. And I passed their physical agility. Prepare yourselves. Find out where you're going. Find out what is expected of you. This whole thing is about expectations, okay? And it's gonna be a little bit different everywhere you go. Prepare yourselves. Don't just show up. Prepare yourselves. Learn. Before you go to that interview, learn a little bit about the city you're interviewing at. How many stations do they have? How many firemen? What's their call volume? They're going to ask you these questions. Okay, I was on the interview panel at Duncanville for 27 years. One of my questions was common sense stuff. Okay, no, I said one of my questions, but my part of that was common sense type stuff. And I would say, you came in here, you ran our physical agility. Yes, sir. Okay, so you saw that how our bays are set up. Yes, sir. And you saw how our bay doors go. They said, yes, sir. I said, okay, let's say we hired you and we like to pull practical jokes. And one day you come in, you catch a call early, and you get out of your tennis shoes. Do they still call them tennis shoes? Y'all don't have laces anymore, you young people don't know how to tie laces. But let's say that they come back from the call, and as the door goes up, somebody, some smartass has tied your laces together and looped them over the bolt on the bottom of the door. And as the door goes up, your shoes are hanging from that door. Using anything at your discretion. A-frame ladders, extension ladders, pike poles. How do you get your shoes down?
Push the door.
You have any idea how many people fail that question? Prepare yourselves. When I was going through that whole process and I got past physical agility, I found people in that department and I said, what's the next step? What do I need to do? What are good answers? How should I dress? And they said, don't come in a suit because you're going to look stupid in a suit. And I do look stupid in a suit. Okay? Prepare yourselves.
The only thing I just want
I'll keep this one brief. If you're currently working for a competing service, do not show up to the interview wearing that competing service's uniform.
to. Very good point.
Hey, I do have one added bonus that for the cadets here. I will tell you that we do have them, and we express them to go buy a suit, whether it's from Goodwill, whatever, for two reasons. Number one is you say dress common sense. For a lot of these folks, these kids, a t-shirt and some shorts and some sandals is what they'll show up to work in.
That's a good point. Very
So
good
we
point.
do express that they at least go out, don't spend a whole lot of money. You're looking for a job, go to Goodwill, get a suit, get a sports blazer, get some nice shoes, polish them up, have a nice button-up shirt and a tie. Number one, it shows the effort. You're showing up and being respectful of the gentlemen and women that are sitting on that panel that have taken time out of their day to provide you an opportunity to get hired with them. Number two, can you follow simple things as far as getting dressed? Look at, if it's good enough to show up in Sunday best, then it's good enough to show up in front of these gentlemen and women that are hiring for you. So I will tell you on our end, we do express that they go get a suit. And it doesn't have to be a high dollar suit. We understand that'd be uncomfortable to show up in, but we've had guys that'll show up in a suit that was a buddy's and some shoes that wasn't theirs. But you know what? They made the conscious effort to say, you know what? I'm gonna look my best to show up for the interviews.
So just to add on to that, dress like you want the job. If, like he said, if you put in the effort and you look nice, look professional, doesn't necessarily have to be a suit, but don't show up in dirty blue jeans, a t-shirt and a ball cap. Dress like you want the job, because that's step one, we make our judgment on appearance. You walk in, shake everybody on the panel's hand, introduce yourself, and then sit down and be attentive. Don't sit, fold your arms, be upright, act like you're interested and want to be there. And it starts with dressing the part and making that good first impression.
Look them in the eye.
Yes.
Look them in the
Yes.
eye.
Jared brings up a really good point, body language, right?
Okay.
The way that you sit, the way that you act, it does portray, and that's one of the things in EMS we talk a lot about, especially at the beginning, is going in and talking to our patients. If I'm sitting there talking to my patient like this, it kind of shows the patient I don't want to be there, right? So it's a very good point about going in, introducing yourself, shaking their hands, and then your body language.
I love Chief Ryan's answer, and there can be two right answers. His advice about researching the organization is paramount. I'm gonna tell you a couple of stories. I went to my Garland Fire Department interview in 1991 at 18 years old, wearing my socks and my underwear. And nothing else that I had on was mine. The shoes weren't mine, they were too damn big. The suit wasn't mine and it was too big. The shirt wasn't mine, it fit pretty good. And the tie, I borrowed from my dad and he tied it, I didn't know how to tie a tie. But I had done the research and I knew to get hired by the Garland Fire Department in 1991, it was a suit or better to open, period. And the people on the interview panel were all wearing ties. If you walk into an interview panel and everybody that's interviewing is dressed better than you are not gonna get that job. And this isn't Discount Tire, all right? So for my department, it is a suit. I'll tell you this. When I got hired in San Marcos as the fire chief, I had to take my laptop with me because I knew the next morning I was gonna have to YouTube how to tie my own tie to go to the fire chief's interview because I had managed to make it my entire career without wearing a suit. I am not the most formal person ever, but there are places when you go to court, you don't dress like you're going to play beach volleyball, right? You dress right. When you're going to church, you dress right. When you're going to a job interview for a career, this is no longer a job. This is a 30-plus year career. I've been doing this 34 years. You dress right, and you show it as I believe it's your academy commander. Is that fair?
Charles, I'm one of their instructors.
One of your instructors shared with you, you show it the respect it deserves. Because if you fail to do that, I will not hire you, and I'll tell you this story in closing. Just a couple of weeks ago, interviewed 4 people, hired 2, didn't hire 1. My fire marshal walks by, sees a young man sitting out in the lobby, and he's wearing, he has no tie. He has on a long sleeve shirt, but it's untucked. And my fire marshal goes and sits out next to him, and he says, hey, do you want to work here? And the guy goes, more than anything in the world. He said, then I would figure out how to tuck that shirt in and fashion yourself some sort of a tie, because our fire chief will not hire you dressed like that. It's going to be perceived as completely disrespectful to this process. He won't hire you. And the young man tells my chief, my fire marshal, assistant chief, he says, hey, this shirt's designed to be worn untucked. He goes, he don't give a shit how that shirt's designed. If you don't have it tucked in, when you go in there, you're not getting this job. And so he goes to the bathroom, he tucks the shirt, and I don't know any of this. They interview him, they beat him up pretty bad about not having a tie, not having a coat. If he was in Corsicana that day, hey, the kid didn't look wrong. He looked wrong for what we were looking for. But if you had done your research in Corsicana, he'd have probably been fine. When I go out to meet him to shake his hand, he's doing this. And I'm like, what in the hell's wrong with your hand? And he said, well, the fire marshal told me that if I didn't have my shirt tucked in, you wouldn't hire me. I said, well, he gave you damn good advice, but what's wrong with your hand? Well, this shirt's about 1/2 inch into my breeches, and if I raise my hand any higher, it's gonna come out, and I want this job. So I'm doing my best to make you think I got a shirt that's tucked in. Come up here with me. What am I gonna ask you about?
Tucking my shirt in.
Nope. This hairdo. When I got hired in Garland in 1991, I had the most badass white mullet you've ever seen. And all my friends thought it was cool. And if I had hair, I'd want it to look just like yours, but it all fell out. So now I'm pissed. Here's the thing. If you want to work for us, we're going to tell you how to cut your hair. To some degree, we're going to tell you how to style your hair. We're going to have shaving requirements. If you're not okay with that, this ain't for you. I go to my job with my nice flowing blonde mullet, like he would if he showed up today, and they asked me, hey, if we give you a job, will you cut your hair? I said, I tell you what, I'll let you cut my hair if y'all just promise to have a really serious discussion about giving me a job when I leave. Yes, I want this job, and if this is the only thing between me and this job, absolutely I'll cut my hair. Just know that's gonna be something that's gonna come up. You're close, and that's in style, I get it. But you're not gonna ride my fire engine like that. And so just understand, you're gonna make some trade-offs. Coming to work in the fire service is a lot like buying a house in an HOA, right? You bought a house there, you knew what you were getting into. Don't fight it when you get there and go, well, I wanna park my boat in the yard, or I wanna park my RV in the yard, or I wanna raise horses on my 1/4 acre lot and don't care about my neighbors. You volunteered to get into this. None of you were drafted, so it's gonna come with some expectations you're gonna be forced to meet. They start at that interview. Fair enough? And and I'd hire you, right now I'd get you a coupon for a haircut.
Thank you, Chief, and now you're forcing me to talk about haircut. I don't work for San Marcos Fire Department. And I'm just trying to keep the hair that's still left on my head, and my wife like it, so, but being honest with you, if I would need to go to a fire chief interview, and we were talking about that just a little bit ago, more like I would probably or shave my hair or have a more sharp haircut than the one that I have right now in front of you. Okay, because it's very important getting any point that you can looking sharp. And as a paramilitary type of organizations, we want to look as sharp as we can. And he's completely right on what he's saying. And I don't want to talk about the suits, we're an organization that we like to see the candidates on suit because you're trying to show your best effort to get the job. I'm gonna talk about a principle of marketing. One of my degrees is business administration, so I'm gonna hit it that way in marketing. When you go to the grocery shop looking for some beans, right, and you stop on the aisle, how many trays of beans you find in front of you? A lot, right? A lot of different styles, a lot of different things. Some of them have jalapenos and stuff like that, right? And then you have the companies that manufacture beans on the cheap way to try to make the most profit, right? Or sell it at the cheapest way so they have more volume of sales, right? But when you stand on that aisle, there's one thing that can call your attention, and it's gonna be the ticket, right? The way that ticket is designed, the colors, the packaging, right? If we look at soaps, we can see all type of packaging. Some have just only one wrap paper, white. Some other have environmental colors or whatever. But when you're on that aisle, you wanna be the one that outstands. When you go to that interview, you wanna be the one that outstands all the other candidates that interview before you or after you. And you need to create that impression. You need to create that impression. Sometimes that's your only opportunity to get 1 point more to get the job. Okay, so use every opportunity that you have to just dress professionally. Thank you, Ryan. Dress professionally, look sharp, and do your best to get the job. Okay, that's my best advice.
All right, do we got any questions from the audience out here, the group?
Right here in the back.
Got one?
So apart from clean cut, haircut, looking the interviewers in the eye, your basic checkoffs that all of you mentioned, what would be something that you would say would be above and beyond? So if you had two people being interviewed, person A checked all the basic boxes, but person B checked all the boxes and went above and beyond, what would be some qualities you would look for to place that person above and beyond the rest?
I mean, again, I'm talking about trying to do your best in every single point that you can, right? That introduction, we talk about shaking hands, look at the eye, very important. Hey, sir, how are you? It's Freddie Roman, nice to meet you. Eye contact, right? Then sit down, be prepared, be well dressed, be well presented, so you start, outshowing the other candidates, right? And then be prepared for your interview. Make your study guide, and be ready to give right answers for it, okay? If we just sit down and try to scroll to the questions really quick, you're probably not gonna be making the most points, right? So be prepared. If there's no study guide, you can Google on the internet firefighter interview questions, and you're gonna find thousands of them. And I'm not telling you learn the thousands of them or thousands of answers, but at least get prepared to give your best answer, okay? And how you can develop answers. Look at your previous experience, right? Sometimes we look at candidates and we ask about previous experience. Oh yeah, I worked on Jack in the Box. Okay, but try to engage and relate. I'm gonna give you one of mine, right? As a chemist, if I build my resume is gonna sound like I work in manufacturing companies, I analyze products, I identify material, right? If I put that for a fire job, the Chief Stevens is gonna be looking at my resume. No, I swap that out and I put hazmat technician. Okay, I put that industrial firefighter, and I start moving all my information, so call the attention of my interviewer, say, oh, this guy has some experience. So again, try to look at the interview on a 360, and every point that you can make it. Okay, so be prepared for that.
You all right?
Don't worry about that. Chief Rowland gave you some great advice. Google is your friend in this case. Google traditional fire department interview questions. I would encourage you to go a step further. In that binder, right? We talked about the binder earlier. Hey, figure out 20 of them, 30 of them that you like. Sit down at your computer and type out answers. Just right off the top of your head. What would I say if this was the question? Write it out. Close the binder. Come back tomorrow, read the question, read your answer, and refine it. And then start to learn those answers. If I apply for a fire chief's job somewhere, there's typically going to be, as an outside candidate, inside candidate, I'm going to know their organization better than their current member. I'm going to study it to the point that I know details about their organization they don't know themselves. To entry-level positions, I'm not asking that of you. But I am asking you to know the name of the organization. I'm asking you to understand how many fire stations we have, what apparatus we run. At least spend an hour or so on our website looking around. Hey, if they offer a ride-out program, call up, sign up, go do a ride-out. Go spend 12 hours there on your own time and ask the people that are already working there, hey, what's it like to work here? And you'll get a feel pretty quick, whether you fit in or not. It's a lot about fit. They said that on the EMS agencies. You're stuck in that truck with those people for 48 hours. It's a ton of it's about fit. But spend some time on the front end preparing. One of the two people I didn't hire a couple of weeks ago, they asked him, last question. They said, hey, why do you want to work for the San Marcos Fire Department? He didn't answer the question. He didn't try. He didn't say anything. To right now, he still hadn't answered the question. Well, you can't pass the interview if you don't at least swing at the ball, right? So, no, they're going to ask you that. If you've done something stupid, right? Anybody? Anybody else? I promise you. I had a hell of a childhood. I had a blast. And I was either going to get a job at the fire department or go to jail. It worked out well for me. Hey, here's the deal. The people that are interviewing you, did anybody over here not raise their hand? I wasn't looking. Anybody over here not raise their hand? You've never done anything stupid?
No.
Okay. Well, unanimous.
Like 5 minutes.
Here's my point. They're not asking you because they're some sort of a saint and they've never done anything stupid or they've never made a mistake. They're asking to see if you'll be honest. Will you be honest? And then, will you take responsibility? If you tell me I was out with my buddies and we stole this truck and it was Billy's fault, I drove and it was my screwdriver and I know how to hotwire cars, but it was Billy's fault. Bullshit. You stole the truck, took Billy with you. Hey, I can probably get past you stealing a truck 10 years ago when you were 16 years old, did something likely stupid. What I won't get past is you telling me you drove, it was your screwdriver, you had the expertise to do it, and then you sit there and tell me the whole story, but tell me it was Billy's idea. I'll cut you. Because you're not going to be honest with me. And I can't have people work for me that won't be honest with me. Be honest. You're not, just understand, you're not talking to people that haven't done that. The fire service and the EMS service, honestly, are a lot like high school without homework. Seriously, you go hang out with your buddies, you do really cool stuff. Everybody's always looking to see what's happening on the other side of the interstate, pulling down the street where all the lights are so they can see what's going on. Everybody's interested in what we're doing. This is a cool job. But you're going to be held to a higher standard, and we're not about to lower that standard. At least I don't think any of us are. So know what you're getting into. But when you go to those, same thing, the reason I do the polygraph, I could almost care less what you admit to in that polygraph. If you tell me you did LSD yesterday, you're probably screwed. You just got out of jail this morning for beating your wife, that's a bit of a problem. So I'm not going to say completely you can't screw it up. The polygraph to me is the last chance to make sure I'm hiring someone that will be honest. And so practice the answers, write them out. Hey, do you know anybody in the fire service currently? Hey, I would call that person, and I know every person up here, I bet, and I did this just recently. One of our department heads in the city, his son-in-law wants to get in the fire service. That guy was a cop in his that's what he did for his career. He doesn't know. He sets up an opportunity for that guy to come and spend now 2 days with me going over all this stuff. Get all that stuff together, call your buddy or your buddies, and go sit with them. and go over that with them. If you know somebody that's recently got hired in the organization where you're applying, take them to lunch, go buy them a cup of coffee and go, hey, what questions did they ask you? What are some of the things I need to be prepared for? Hey, what were they wearing, the people that interviewed you? Because if you go, hey, everybody that interviewed me wasn't wearing a tie, well, you can probably get away without wearing a tie. If they tell you everybody in the room had on a suit and a tie, that's a clue. You should probably get a suit and a tie. So do your research, it's gonna be a process. Hey, those things, write them in that folder. And then one thing before I forget it, how many of you have Facebook? If you don't get it, and then don't post any stupid shit, come back to that later. Hey, Firefighter Jobs Texas, it's a Facebook group. Young kid in Little Elm created it years ago. There's about 8,000 people, and he signed me up as the administrator of it when he created it. Thank you. So that's part of what I do every single day is I look for and find all the jobs around Texas. Any one of these that these guys have, got Freddie and then post their own now. They just post it. All I have to do is approve it. If you're not already on it, I saw a few of you nod, so I'm assuming you have. Ask your buddies, I'll show you where it is. It's not all inclusive. That's a great place to look. Texas Commission on Fire Protection is a great place to look, but that Facebook deal, I try to keep it as current as I can. I'm networked pretty well throughout the state. If you go on there and ask to be a member, you have to accept the terms of service. If you don't accept it, I'll just decline you. Because if you can't follow instructions, I'm not interested, and it says in the instructions you have to accept them. So if you ask to be a member and you don't accept it, I just decline you. And I like declining the same people over and over because I don't know if you're learning anything or not, but I like to believe you are. And then lastly, do any of your mothers work for any of our organizations? What's the message? Huh? Real loud here. Get in that.
We're not your mom.
I ain't your mom. Damn right. Hey, do not. I don't know about the rest of them. Do not have your mom call me. I will not hire you. I will not hire you. Do not have your mom come pick up your application.
It happens.
I will not hire you.
It happens.
I am hiring grown-ass adults. The sun comes up every third day, and your ass ought to be at the fire station to watch it, on time, in uniform, ready to go. And if you're not there yet, then go work at Discount Tire. They'll tolerate that bullshit longer than I will, but your mama don't work here. You don't drop your dirty dishes in the sink. You don't leave your laundry in the washing machine. You don't leave your bed made when you go home in the morning. Your mama don't work here. Anybody got any different thoughts? That will save you a lot of trouble. But when your mom shows up and says, hey, I'm here to get an application for little Billy. Hey, let me get a pad and paper. I want to be sure to get little Billy's name. Because I'm going to make a note. I'm never going to hire little Billy ever, ever, ever. Because I'm not raising your damn kids. All right?
So, got a free tip for you, interview tip, 101. I've been on every interview panel at Roberts County EMS for the last 6 years. At the very end, the last question that we ask y'all is, do you have any questions for us? And you'd be surprised how many times they say no. What we love is when you guys ask questions to us. I think these gentlemen can concur as well. Yes, you're committing to us as an employee, but I'm also committing to you as an employer. Occasionally, very occasionally, and they usually get hired, we have people that will ask 4 or 5 questions. I mean, our usual interview lasts maybe 30 minutes, but this went on for an hour. She had great questions. She just kept asking us questions, and they were great questions. She was curious about us. She wanted to know what we could offer her, which is, I think, 100% appropriate. Also, on the EMS side, if you tell me that Roberts County EMS is your dream agency, it's where you want to work, it's where you want to retire, and I have never seen you as a student, again, you can't believe it. I'm gonna call bullshit. So why didn't you come right out with us? Why did you do all your ride-outs with the fire departments and for St. Joe's EMS? Why do you want to work here? More than likely, you've already applied there as well. I don't know the first thing about firefighting. I'm not a firefighter, but I would assume you can show up and volunteer or wash trucks, whatever you think would be appropriate to do to get on with that agency you're looking for. For us in EMS, it's be a student. So a lot of you on the EMS side, being relatively close by, we get a lot of students come through, and we love students. I encourage y'all, wherever you want to work is where you do your write-outs. It's always good to get a couple of other agencies kind of sprinkled in, just to kind of get a variation of, because you got a lot of agencies around here, a lot of agencies that do different things. But do your write-outs where you want to work. If you're dead set on a certain place, if you're kind of on the fence, do a few scattered here and there. But know that the second you show up on my property, at my EMS station, your interview is started. I'm already evaluating you. More than likely, I know that you're kind of interested in me anyway, because again, I work with these guys. But know that you're being watched 24/7. Everything you do is stored up here, and you're competing with each one of your cohorts here. So as me, a service, I have a general idea based on my budget, what my director's needs are, how many people that I can bring on. And I might get 15 people show up in 3 spots. I know how many spots I have. You don't know how many spots you have. So everything that you can do to elevate yourself against your cohort, it kind of sucks to say that, but you're competing against him, you're all looking for the same jobs for whatever your reason is. You want to move back home for the money or whatever that is. So do what you can to set yourself apart. The 2 tips I gave you: ask questions, do your write-outs with us. That's a good place to start, okay?
Chief Ryan did this, so I get to do it too. I forgot something. Hey, don't come to your interview, don't come to your first day of employment with your, what was it, a 19 what Suburban?
77.
Was the inspection good on it?
I don't know.
License plates current?
Maybe.
Don't show up at my fire department with outdated inspection or license plates on your car, and don't give me an expired driver's license on your first day of employment, because it will have a similar date as your last day of employment. Exactly, right then you'll be done. I'm hiring you to do an adult job. If you can't take care of your business, you can't manage your business, you can't manage your affairs, you can't show up to someone who's having a really terrible bad day and help fix theirs. So don't do that. I worked for the Dallas, I was an instructor for the Dallas Fire Academy for almost 3 years while I was assigned as lieutenant in Garland training. The first day of rookie school, when I got there, the first day of rookie school, they would walk the parking lot. All the kids had to back in. They would walk up and down and make license plates. Everybody that was expired was terminated. Right then, you're gonna go, you can go, you can go, you can go. Just done. After all the process to get there, you're just done. By the end of that 3 years, they were dismissed the first day and allowed to come back the next day if they had everything in order. Their insurance, their driver's license, their inspection, all that. Just think, I'm fixing to put you a new fire truck. A ladder truck's $2.3 million, an engine's 1.1 plus. I'm gonna let you drive that within the first 6 months of working for me. If you're not responsible enough to keep insurance on your 1970 Suburban, I damn sure don't wanna put you in a $2.3 million tiller. Fair? See how the expectations match? Don't show up with that. Those are give-me's. Those are absolute give-me's to get into this job. And people screw them up every single time. Thank you.
He's not lying about that registration. I went to Dallas Fire Academy, and no, my registration was not, and my inspection. We had inspection stickers and registration stickers. And that was a big thing. They check those things every day. And no, I would not show up in a car with expired, either of those things expired. And your question was, what can you do to go above and beyond, right? And preparing yourself is part of that as well. One of the questions we ask, and I'll ask you, you don't really have to answer it. One of the questions I've always asked in an interview, what volunteer work have you done? And why is that?
I just recently discovered that I wanted to get in the fire department. I initially thought I was going to go to the military, and then had to change of heart, change of life. And then, due to medical history, I needed to change direction. I've only looked in the fire department within less than a year. It actually was the volunteer department back in my hometown that I did a EMS write-out with. Started working some wrecks and seeing what these guys do, and it started clicking, like, this is something that I wanna do for the rest of my life, this is what I wanna commit myself to.
Okay. And I asked you, what volunteer work have you done? See how your mind went to fire department?
Yes, sir.
But you had a chance. Have you ever helped build a house? Have you ever volunteered to help a friend? Okay, so you've never done the volunteer firefighter. Accentuate what volunteer work you have done.
So for volunteer work, back in my, I was saying, coached the Little League team, volunteered at the food pantry, mowed the cemetery, mowed the churchyard, all those things. Boy Scout mentored, all those kind of things, Girl Scout mentor, all those. There's a ton of things that answer that question. Think globally.
I was asked that question in my interview, and I had never been on a volunteer fire department, but I wasn't in an area that had volunteer fire departments. And I said, well, I've done missionary work. I coach baseball. I'm on the board of baseball. I've also volunteered for Easter Seals. You know, I helped build a float for my homecoming parade, you know, whatever. And they're like, okay, that'll work. Then they asked me, your credit score is not all that great. And I could have said, yes, sir, I suck at paying my bills. But I didn't. I said, I used to work at LTV. I've been laid off 3 times. I had to use all my life savings just to feed my kids. And somebody goes, I used to work at LTV, son. I know exactly what you're talking about. I said, but I did pay all my bills. Okay? Take that bad and turn it into a good. This is the time for you to brag on yourself, because you are getting into a profession that is made up of nothing but givers in a world of takers. And if you come across any way as a taker, you're not getting that job. So always present yourself as a giver. Okay? Take the littlest things and accentuate on them, because you're in a room full of givers. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes, sir.
So, okay, what volunteer work have you done? Now you're thinking, aren't you? You're thinking. Okay, prepare yourself. Anybody want to accentuate on that?
No, I probably want to touch on the Facebook part.
Oh, Facebook. We look at your Facebook.
And
Remove all the stupid Facebook page.
So that's actually right where I'm getting ready to filter. Who here
I know
has?
social media is one of the things.
Yeah, I was gonna say, who here has actual social media accounts of any sort? Facebook, Instagram, they're active. TikTok, the whole thing, right? Alright, I know this is a hot button topic. I know there's a couple of you guys who really wanna talk about
But I
this.
think if I talk about Facebook, they're gonna know my age, right?
Let's
Facebook's
talk
for
about
old
TikTok.
people, right?
Already.
TikTok,
Videos on
Instagram, all that.
Instagram, whatever the big thing is, or
No,
19.
from the bottom of my heart, guys and gals that are sitting here, don't do anything stupid. Chief of Stevens already told you that. I have one of my cadets during academy that posts a picture of drinking a beer. But what kind of academy I told you that I coordinate?
High school.
High school. It means that the guy is underage. I pulled him to the office to say, and this came from an instructor calling me, hey, did you see? I said, I don't have Facebook with my students. That's why I avoid trouble, right? And he called me and told me about the picture, sent it to me, called to the office, and said, hey, what you were doing? I was with my dad. Okay? So you can go and hang out with your dad. But you're not gonna damage the name of the organization that I've been trying to create, and the organization that the state trusts me to train firefighters. We put pride in what we do, and we don't want nobody to damage. And let me tell you, and I agree with Chief Les Stevens so much, I was not a saint on life, and I did a lot of stupid things also. But God gave me an opportunity to move forward and do the right thing. And I love my job, and I love my career. And I don't plan to be a chemist anymore. I'm gonna retire in the fire service. Or emergency management, making some more cash whenever I cannot pull a hose or something like that. But be aware, okay? You're facing a career that runs on media, runs very quick, and we all wanna know. So protect yourself, project yourself as professionals. If you take a picture, and that picture made it to the front page of the newspaper tomorrow, think, I'm okay with that picture or not? If your answer is no, don't put it on the media. Don't put it in the media because it can put you in a very tight corner.
And added on to that, I've known a few people who've used their social media and lost their jobs. They thought they were gonna be the next TikTok or Instagram star with their short videos, and their career was shorter than their videos. So it was an unfortunate event, but you know, these guys have all really good information, and I'm sure they all, you know, kind of have something to say on that as well.
I'm probably the last person on this planet that ought to have a social media account. It's a fact. I think I'm funny. I am way quicker to talk than I am to think, and I still have a social media account. But I tell you what I have. I have an agreement with 2 other fire chiefs that also have a social media account that are borderline as well. You know, whether they should be a fire chief or have a social media account. Hey, they will call me like this and say, I think I would take that down. So y'all need, if you're gonna have a social media account, I don't have all of them, it's the only one I've got. I know there's tons of other platforms. Hey, find you a couple of people that you trust and go, hey, will you be my awareness coach? Will you be the person that says, hey, that probably sounded really good in your head. It don't look so good out here in the real world. Hey, as soon as they say it, regardless of whether you agree or not, delete it. Just delete it. Make it go away before somebody gets a chance to screenshot it. And I'll tell you exactly where I'm going with this. A friend of mine recently competed in a very large fire department for a chief level position he did not get. The next day, he posted something on his social media account that, given the context of him learning the day before, earlier that day, that he didn't get this job, was really bush league, not classy at all. And I remember when I read it, I'm getting mad thinking about it. And I called the next day, I called one of the guys over and said, did you see this? And he goes, yeah, man, I wish you had it done. And I said, never mind, I gotta go. And I hung up. And I called this young man and I said, hey, you got your phone? He said, I said, take that shit down. Just take it down. We'll talk about it. And in a minute, if you still feel like that's what you want to put out there, you can put it back. But for the next 20 minutes, while we're beating this up and I'm telling you how that sounded to me as not a member of your fire department, but somebody that knows what you were getting at, take it down. And just a few minutes into it, he goes, hey, I can't thank you enough. He goes, I bet I work with people who saw it, had the same thought you did, but didn't call me. So find you someone that you trust. Try not to post stupid stuff, first off. And then all the hot button issues, just stay the hell off of them. You're buying a house in a HOA, right? I don't care about your religious preference. I don't care about your thoughts on race. I don't care about your thoughts on LGBTQ. I don't care. I don't care. We are going to go out and serve a public as agnostics in all of those categories. We're not pro or con. We are indifferent. And so I don't need you putting stuff out there as my employee that has people calling City Hall saying, hey, XYZ person is posting this. Just stay indifferent. You can think whatever you want in your home. You can say, do whatever you want. But if you're going to wear my uniform, you're going to ride on my fire truck, you're going to represent me, just don't. Just don't. It's one of those things, you're just voluntarily giving it up. They've all given it up. I don't have an opinion. My closest friends, my absolute closest friends, might have an inkling of what I think on some of those subjects. I would bet you they don't. I bet you they don't even know. Because in this position, it's not in my best interest for anyone to know. Republican, Democrat, I don't give a shit. I don't care, right? Now, am I passionate about those issues? Yep, I sure am. But not on Facebook or TikTok or Instagram or whatever other shit. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Fair?
Yes, sir.
So, I'm more proficient with Facebook than anything. Yeah, getting old, right? So you guys finish the academy, you go through Chief's hiring process, you get on, you're working with the best of the best, and you cannot wait to let everybody know that you work for the best of the best. So what do you do on your Facebook? You put firefighter at San Marcos. That means every single picture you post, Every meme you share, every opinion you share is the opinion of someone reading it, an opinion of San Marcos Fire Department. And that is the easiest way to get you kicked out of a department, easiest way to get you kind of blacklisted for other departments, because I promise, anyone up here, if you come through and you put your references down, yeah, they might call you references, but he's gonna call his buddy that he knows or used to work with, that is now the chief at the department that you used to work for, and then he's gonna get the real story. That's what we do. We call you references, yeah, but luckily, my chief knows damn near everybody. He's worked all over and has made friends, he's done all kinds of stuff, so he's like, I know a guy that works there, I'm gonna call him, I'm not gonna call your reference. I'm gonna call my buddy who can give you the real story. So make sure that if you do put on your Facebook, social media that you are a firefighter, paramedic, or whatever at a certain department, understand that everything you post, the general public is going to look at that and go, that must be the opinion of the entire department. And it's just easier not to do it. It really is. Save you a lot of heartache, headache, all that stuff.
I'm gonna circle back to the previous question just for a brief moment on what separates the two candidates. So you have candidate A, candidate B, both stellar candidates in the interview. One really impresses more than the other. But the other point I like to bring up on this is when you do your student write-outs, do you consider your student write-outs a part of the interview process with an agency? Absolutely, you should. In our stations, we have a QR code for all the students to be able to scan. They give us a feedback of our crew's activity with those students at that time. Our CEO of our company gets that response. He reaches out to every single one of those students, whether it's positive, whether it's negative, and lets them know, thank you for your feedback. We appreciate that. That lets us know how we're doing. And we're gonna keep that information as well, because we have had students come in and they've applied with us and we're like, hey, yeah, I remember when you rode out with us. I remember you were late to your shift. You weren't in uniform. You weren't ready to go. We do remember that. And so EMS, fire, it's small. It's a small world when you get involved in it. And that's when it gets to the social media component. I didn't have Facebook until a year ago. I got put into the director of community relations role. And they said, oh, by the way, you get to be in charge of the company Facebook page. And I was like, oh, okay, sure, I'll take over that. You cannot operate a company's Facebook page without having your own personal Facebook page. And so I had to set up my own personal Facebook page. I have 0 friends. I'm okay with that. We have had employees that have been HIPAA violations on social media. It's not a hard thing to do. We covered a concert. One of the band members got hurt. They posted about it being hurt. Our medic posted exactly what the injury was. That changed that violation. Don't dress up as the Grim Reaper standing next to an ambulance and posting it on your social media. It seems pretty basic and it seems pretty simple not to do that stuff, but it still gets done. So let's just be mindful of that. In our service, I mean, we're part of Harris County. We don't police your personal social media. We do look at it. I mean, you apply with us. We're going to do that Google search. We're going to do that Facebook search. But it's like, do not do things in our uniform. Do not put a red flag up there for yourself. It does stay with you. Your digital footprint stays with you, and it's going to follow you. So just be mindful of that.
I think we covered social media pretty good, but I'm gonna go back to what Chief Stevens asked the gentleman. Google good fire interview questions. When I interviewed for the chief's job at Corsicana, I went and bought a brand new suit. I bought a brand new shirt. I bought brand new socks, and I bought brand new shoes. And somewhere in that interview process, they asked me something about dressing, and I let them know I bought a brand new suit for that job interview. And somebody told me later on, man, that really made an impression on us. But I also Googled good fire chief interview questions, and I typed them up, and I went over them. And then I asked other friends of mine, hey, what do you think about this? 5 of those questions were my first 5 questions that I Googled, and I had the answers completely prepared for them. And of course, one of them was, what's your leadership style? And I went into autocratic, you know. He goes, no, man, I just mean in general. I was like, oh, so, but it let them know that I had prepared for it as well. So, man, Google these things, man. Google good questions. Good, you know, the whole point of that is the internet can be your friend when it comes to a lot of this. But before I got to Corsicana, I joined the Corsicana Fire Department page, the City of Corsicana page, and I wanted those updates before I went in there. And anything that was going on in that city, I let it slip during my interview that I knew what was going on in that city. So you can get, those fire departments will have a social media page. The association will have its own social media page or whatever you're looking at. Join it and then keep up on their stuff. And somewhere in there, that one little thing may be what gets you the job.
Let's go back to social media just real quick. We're not only gonna look at yours, we're gonna look at your friends. If I get a Facebook request from Chief Ryan, if you're not a chief officer, it's probably best that you not be identifiable. When I get a request, I got one this morning, and I started looking, and I was like, man, I know this guy, I don't know where I know him from. So I started looking at his pictures. What am I looking for in his pictures? I'm looking for a picture of him with his fire station, his engine, his t-shirt, his hat, something that tells me where this individual works. And I went through a bunch of pictures. I didn't find it. I go to his profile. It just says firefighter. It doesn't say the department. So then I went to his friends and I started looking at who his friends were, and I realized really quickly the greatest concentration of his friends were Plano people that I knew. I go, oh, I taught that guy in rookie school at Collin College. He's a Plano guy. And I added him. My background investigators are not just gonna look at yours. They're gonna open up your friends list and they're gonna start scrolling through those. And if we're looking at you and a friend that you're commenting on his stuff is standing with a swastika or a Confederate flag or something, did his risk factors just become yours? Because you're too stupid to not get unfriended with this guy, at least on social media, right? That's the kind of background checks we're gonna do. I get a call one day from a lady. She wants to complain on one of my firefighters. He'd hosted a football watching party at his house. It turned out it was 3 years before she called to complain. And there reportedly had been a Confederate flag displayed out in front of his house during this football game. And so that prompts a whole long, there goes the rest of my week kind of thing, right? We're gonna have to do this investigation and civil service, you gotta give them a notice, all this stuff. No big deal. Paperwork. So we go through this process and it turned out it was true. One of the teams, don't remember which team it was, that was kind of their mascot thing at the time, the Rebels or whatever. And one of his friends who had come over to this football watching party had brought the little flag in the flagpole. He had a flag holder outside for his Texas flag, American flag, whatever. He puts the little flag in there and ta-da. Now, my guy has a neighbor who's pissed because he got this flag hanging out in front of his house. You're gonna have to change. You're most like the 6 people you spend the most time with, right? If you're spending time with a bunch of kids, it's probably time to give that up. Because when these guys and some of the people that do the background investigation, my guys just walked in, they're going to find that. They're going to realize that. And you're gonna be a risk not worth taking for us. We're just not gonna do it. So keep those things in mind to Chief Ryan's point.
All right, all really good points on that subject there. And so we're kind of wrapping it up, getting down to the last 15 or so minutes here. So I have a question for the panel. We'll kind of give you guys about 30 seconds. If you guys just kind of want to give us a snippet of what you guys think. But to start off, I'll kind of give you kind of the preface for the question. So when we go out there, they go out, they get their application in, they get hired, they get that letter, they go through your academy and all that. From the agencies that I came from or the agency I came from in the past, I was always taught my interview started from the first day on the job. And I interviewed my whole entire career for that next position. So every day that I showed up, every time I clocked in, every time I was leaving, the things I said, the people I talked to. And that all factored into the longevity of my job and my ability to move up. So if you guys could just kind of give us a snippet of what kind of advice would you give our candidates out here on how they can make a long-lasting career for themselves in your departments. I know we're kind of all different. You guys are all from different types of departments, from civil service to, cities to EMS and all that, so.
I can tell you from day one, can prepare to never stop learning. Okay, training, training, training. No matter how many times you do it right, keep doing it so you create that muscle memory in every skill. Look to keep progressing. Make a plan on your career. Don't be static. I'm gonna tell you something. Look also on college hours. Hey, look to get further education. Because if you get hurt on the job, what you're gonna do next? For my friends in the fire prevention offices, right? You're starting a job, start looking at that inspector classes, start looking at that investigation classes. If you get hurt, you probably can jump into that office and can be valuable to the fire department, right? Don't stop growing. Look for a good mentor. Look for a good mentor that can drive you, that you can sit with him and say, you know what? I have this question. What do you think about it? And you trust that person that is going to give you the best to drive you forward. A good mentor can take you a long ways in this career. Okay? Never stop learning. Train, 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 and look for a good mentor. Okay? And have a plan. What you're gonna do? Have your plan B. When I tell you, try to get something else. Some of our guys are gonna go and gonna build their landscaping business, and that's great. Have a plan B. If I get hurt, what am I gonna do next to sustain my family? Most of you here that I see, very young, right? So I don't expect you to be married and have 5 children. Probably I'm wrong, right? But you need to make plans. As we make plans to how to approach a fire, how to attack a fire, our life needs to have a plan. Tomorrow, if I lost my job on Cal Fire Department, I know I have a plan B. Emergency management, chemistry, I can work everywhere. So be prepared in your life to be successful as an individual. That make sense?
Yes, sir.
Every day's an interview. It really is. Our chief believes in that, tells people that all the time. From the day you walk in, grabbing your application, to 5 years down the road when you're a paramedic still trying to get a promotion. Every day's an interview. We hire people that are humble, hungry, smart. So you gotta be humble enough, you gotta be smart enough to do the job, but we basically want that to be people smarts. You can hold a conversation with people. You can be a normal person, right? And then hungry. Keep going, keep learning, keep getting training, any kind of certifications you might want that could benefit you. School, keep going through school, whatever you want to do. If you follow those 3 things, you can be pretty successful in almost anywhere.
Again, thanks for having me. This is the last question. I appreciate you allowing me to come out with my cohorts and kind of promote our industry a little bit. My few things would be, number one, maintaining your mental health. We see some pretty terrible stuff, regardless if you're on the fire or EMS side, doesn't matter. It could be your first day, it could be your first shift, it could be your first call. You could see something that's gonna linger forever. I would say, reach out. Great thing about now, in 2023, whatever year it is the public is aware now. There's a lot of resources that you're gonna have to go out and just tell somebody. A lot of departments, I'm sure the bigger ones have counselors, there's specialists that just deal with you guys, with first responders and the stuff that we see. The big thing is just don't keep it in, tell somebody. Somebody else has had either that thought or that problem before, so you're not the only one. I don't know the statistics, but the first responder suicide rate is exponentially higher than the next profession. Obviously, never stop learning, especially on the EMS side. There's always new studies coming out, new drugs, new procedures, new equipment. And lastly would be time management. I don't know if it's pay or if it's how much spare time we typically have, but a lot of people have 2 and 3 different jobs. And a lot of times it's 2 and 3 different EMS jobs, and to me that's just not healthy. If you've got to have 3 jobs, then you probably need to make some financial changes in your life if something's not going on correctly. So use your time off, do something else. Everybody's got a hobby. Do something else. I say that, but I teach EMS on the side. So, but I like teaching. Separate, do your job, learn, and on your downside, spend time with your family. Take vacation, that's a big thing. I don't take nearly enough vacation. But just separate yourself when you can. Thank you for having me.
And I'll thank you for your time as well today. I'm gonna reiterate his point on mental health, good work-life balance. I mean, this is, if you look around the industry right now, there's not a lot of older people in the industry right now. I know our median age dropped within the past 2 years on our service. And so I always like to, our industry and you Ted Lasso fans, I'm always like, be a goldfish. Don't take this home with you. Yes, we're responding to other people's emergency on their worst day, but it's very difficult for us not to just shelve that at the end of that 24-hour shift into that 48-hour shift. But it is that moment where you yourself need to take that break, rely on your partner that you're with, the resources that your facility may offer to you, your friends back home, whoever it may be, really let that out, because it is that component with us that we tend to shelve it. It's like, no, I'm gonna deal with this on my own, I'm gonna keep it enclosed, and it's gonna rest there, and it's gonna get to a point where it's gonna take you out. And that's where burnout in our industry is such a big thing. We've talked about it for years, burnout. And now we are starting to see these resources come online for mental health within our industry, which is a great thing. And it is something that we really focus on. We have a mental health program that we have in place, and it's helped a lot of us through the industry. And that's where it's, at the end of the day, we just want you as an employee, take that time off. If there is a day you're coming into work and there's a moment you need to take that break, let us know. We're gonna be there to work out that action with you. And it's not something that we're just gonna say, no, you just need to buck up and deal with it, because we understand. I mean, we're all part of this industry as well.
I really liked humble, hungry, and smart. It goes a long way. How do y'all feel about Californians moving into Texas and telling us how to run our state? Welcome to being a rookie. Okay? Don't go into the fire service and telling them how things should be. Okay? Be humble about that. Half of this job is fitting in. Okay? They're not gonna change to you. You need to learn to fit in. And that's a big part of a long, healthy fire service EMS career. Okay? Be humble, be hungry, be smart, try to fit in. Don't be going in there telling them how things should be. Okay? You introverts, you need to get a little bit more extroverted. You extroverts, you need to get a little more introverted. Okay? Don't force yourself on anybody, but we want to see your personality. We want to get to know you. But don't be overbearing. Try to fit in.
As they said, thank y'all very much for the opportunity. Thank you to Teeks for putting this together. This is the first one of these we've done. I know my group was excited to come and be a part of it. It's our first foray into this, so we're hoping to steal great ideas from what these folks are doing. Several of my folks are in the back. If you will, raise your hands real quick. If y'all come back after lunch, go by and see them. That's our current association president, our previous association president, two of our best, I think, representatives of our organization, and our admin coordinator, Kim, on the end. Go by and ask them questions. I'm sure there's things y'all wanted to know you didn't ask in here. Go by and ask them. That's why I brought so many of them, so that they're there to have those conversations with you, to tell you a little bit about our department. Being successful. It takes an entire career to build a reputation. It takes only a couple of minutes to destroy one. That's it. Every day. What you did last shift doesn't matter. You gotta continue next shift to build on that next shift. What you did as a firefighter doesn't make you a good driver. What you did as a good driver doesn't make you a good officer. You've got to build that reputation over the duration of a 30+ year career. Be mindful of that every single day. Come in every day, do that. I liked his, be humble, be hungry, be smart. Our fire marshal has got one that I really like. Know your job, do your job, don't be a dumbass. I have yet to find a place that didn't fix just about all the problems that I was looking at. Know your job. If you don't know your job, get with the people that are doing it, that are being successful. As a mentor, learn your job. Be proficient, be an expert. This isn't AA baseball. This isn't AAA baseball. In our area, this is the pros. This is the major leagues. People don't expect us to show up on scene and not know how to pump our fire truck, not know how to operate our extrication equipment, not know how to operate our life pack, not know how to operate the Lucas device. We are professionals at this. We should be experts at all of that. And that's the level we're gonna expect you to operate at. Come in every day, be hungry, I love that word, be hungry for that, strive for that, always be investing in yourself, whether it's time or money in development. Freddie talked about it, talked about one of the things that we have. We have one of the highest training budgets of any department in the state. Very seldom does anyone in our organization request outside training and get denied. Chief Miner is here, he's our training chief, he can talk to you about that. That career development progression, we offer a ton of that. We've got a tuition reimbursement program, they're gonna talk to you about those things. But thank y'all again. Last thing, every one of us started out sitting right where you were. And at 18 years old, all I wanted was a job. I'm like, I'll wax the fire truck, I'll wax the stop sign, whatever you got, man, just sign me up. It never occurred to me at that point that every one of the officers in the organization and the chief were the people sitting in our rookie classes. If you go back to my rookie class from 1991, there are fire chiefs around the state, they're the assistant chief of operations in Garland, they're battalion chiefs, they're drivers. You guys are not just the entry-level employees of all of our organizations. You're also the future leaders of our organizations. You will evolve, whether you believe it today or not, you will evolve into those roles over the course of your career. That's why we're so particular about who starts. We don't get to go outside to hire captains or battalion chiefs or assistant chiefs. We're gonna grow those, we're gonna start with you, so keep that in mind. Thank y'all for your time, appreciate you being here.
All right, so advice from all of them, very good today. We really appreciate our panel speakers coming in and taking their time out of their day and their busy work week to come in and assist with us on that. If we can give them a round of applause for just a second. Just to bring it all back around, and I know some of you guys here, you guys already have jobs in hand. I know some of you guys already work for agencies, or you might be lined up, you might be on lists, things like that. And, although you may not be in the hiring process right now, I think it's very important to take two big things away that I think everyone on this panel mentioned. And number one is career. They kept saying career. We're not saying job anymore, because we want you guys to make this a lifelong endeavor. We want you guys to give back to the EMS community, get into the fire communities, give back to, to whichever side or whichever way you go, whether it be a fire EMS or just strictly fire-based or strictly EMS. We want this to be a career for you guys. And that being said, multiple of the chiefs and from our EMS agencies that they talked about was, not only does this apply to this entry-level position that we're kind of talking about today, but it also applies as you go to chief, or you go to captain, or you go to lieutenant, or you move up the board. You're gonna have to interview multiple times throughout your career. And so every day you're there, study hard, work hard. It's an interview process and move yourself forward.